What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning back in. You know, I'm Kyle, Limitless Power Sports Service and Repair. What we have here today is a 2018 Odes Dominator X4 1000 LT. This actually, I had worked on this a couple years back at another place I was working at before I opened my own shop up, and we had to replace the transmission. So I'll make a video about all the issues these things have. But here today, what we got going on, this was purchased from another person purchased this from the original owners, and they had it worked in another shop, and they had a belt put in it. The last belt was shredded. So what we got to do here, we got to go back in and check that belt, because basically what's going on, it's slipping really, really bad. Doesn't want to accelerate. So let's just take a walk around this thing so you guys can see it. I know a lot of you guys own these things. You got that Odes owner group on Facebook, which I am a part of. But like I said, this is a 18 Dominator 1000 long travel. Massimo bought them out. It is, I believe, a high-sung product. Massimo had bought it, Odes anyways, and then now they call it a benchy, so on and so forth. But again, nothing's changed. Nothing's really changed. Some things have. They have updated a few things, but not much has changed. So what we're going to run through, we're going to go ahead and pull the interior out of this. We're going to take both seats out. We'll take the seat belts off. The gear shifter will spin off. We'll take all the push pins out. We'll take the center housing off, remove the mat, and then we'll take the cross member out down here. So you'll basically need push pin pliers, a 16 millimeter socket, 14 millimeter wrench, 13 millimeter socket, Phillips head, 10 millimeter wrench, 10 millimeter extension with a 10 mil swivel, quarter inch extension, not 10 millimeter. And I use a quarter inch drive, and that's how I get in there to get all that stuff off. So I'll go ahead and I'm gonna try to hang you guys up top here. I don't have a really good way to get a good visual down here, so I might be in the way a little bit. So we're gonna jump into this thing. I'm probably gonna be the trail blocks on the clutch. They get hot, they do melt. So we're gonna see what we find in there and see if we can't solve this issue for these guys. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and pull up on both these tabs at the same time. The seat will lift back and slide out, and we'll go ahead and sit it in the back. Like I said, the angle might be kind of crappy here for a little bit, but you know, that's what we got going on. So I'm a one-man band. So we'll take the front seat out. This one does not have heated seats, so it's not a hard deal to unplug all those. Driver seat's out. Let's walk over to the passenger side real quick. And you can see this is the old belt they took out of it. They put an EPI in there, a WE265033. The other shop is a good shop, so this is what they have put in there. I have to get a hold of one of the guys to find out what aftermarket belt they do use. I know they use Ultramax, something else, but EPI makes a good one. Get that out of here. Anyways, these two tabs up, seat comes out, no problem. So the next thing we want to do is we'll come in here. Somebody had stuck the nut on backwards for the gear shifter, so we'll go ahead and I'm gonna, if I can get it, rock here a little bit. I can't, oh, let me go back down here. I'm gonna throw this thing up in neutral. I'm not too worried about it. Pull the emergency brake up. We'll check this and make sure it's all good here. A lot of times these things break off and then you can't get the thing out of the shifty tent. So we'll slap that up there. We'll grab a 14 millimeter socket, 16 millimeter wrench, go ahead and take the seat belts out, and then we'll go ahead and pull all these aftermarket push pins, which are not the proper ones for this model, but we'll pull all these out, and then you'll have the two Phillips heads back here in the back. You guys can see that, I'm not sure by looking at the front. Back here, we'll lift this whole center console out. All right, so I think I showed you guys these in a couple previous videos, trying to see from behind here. This is my body panel pliers. They work great for these style push pins on almost any ATV, UTV, or whatever. I love these compared to some of the other ones. I'll leave a link in the description for those. But we got this all taken off, so we'll just lift this thing up and out, and we'll put it on top of the seats in the back, upside down. And inside there I have actually, originally, let me go pull you down and show you. I had put an acoustic heat barrier in here because these things got so hot. So we had put this in here a long time ago, back in probably 2019 was probably the last time I seen this. Again, I was working at another shop at the time. Stator plug, Looks like it got squished a little bit here, but still good, which he's burned up quite a bit. So what we gotta do next, say, to get down here to the CVT, next we gotta take off all these screws here. We'll pull this panel off, and it looks like it's missing a bolt there. There's a 13 millimeter head bolt. We'll take that off. We'll take these two out back here, and then you can take this off, or you can flip the whole thing back. That's up to you. And then we gotta pull out a couple push pins that are not down here in the floor, or Phillips heads. So we'll go ahead and pull this out, get that off, and then we'll have access down here to the CVT cover. You can see they have a big aftermarket Wix fuel filter in here. So that may be kind of hanging in the way, but shouldn't be too bad. Like I said, we should be able to just pull this off. Might have to pull this one and this one, but I don't think so. But it's been a while, but we'll pull these off and we'll access that. Go. All right, so we got all the bolts out here, down here, back here, and did have to pull one out up here so we could pull this back to access that 13 mil head on that one. Unfortunately, I'm looking, I think that one's missing the nut on the back, welded nut to it, so nothing I can do about that. Didn't have the bolt on the inside, but anyways, that's all right. We'll just pull all this stuff up and out. And now what I like to do here, and now it doesn't have a bolt there either, so we'll have to see what's all missing on this thing. We'll go ahead and disconnect this guy here, and that way we can pull the front CVT cover off. And what I use a long 1/4 inch swivel to get up here, and it helps me access, it's hard to see, but down in here without having to drop the skid plate on this thing. So we're gonna go ahead and take out all of those. I forget how many there is. They go all the way around, down and under. And then we'll go ahead and pull this little guy out here. We'll have to hold this up out of the way when we do it, but that'll give us access to the clutch. Go. All right, so we got the CVT cover off. So what I ran into down here, the last shop, I don't know if it had to be the last shop, but there's a little bit of damage on the ramps for the secondary. I forget what these are exactly called at the top of my head, but also both bolt holes are completely all boogered up. So this is the bolt I used to use. It's a 10 millimeter by 1.5 thread pitch. So we'll screw that all the way in there till it bottoms out. Grab our ratchet. I'm doing this by holding you guys in my hand. Let me see if I can set you here. Get you magnetic base here. And we'll screw this in. I put a little bit of anti-seize on it. This way we spread the secondary clutch out. I always put anti-seize on this thing. Sorry if I'm bumping the camera. I always put anti-seize on this bolt. I've had them actually get stuck in here before without anti-seize. I learned the hard way on that one. And so we'll go down, and then we'll go ahead and run this off the secondary clutch. If I can get my fingers back here without smashing them. Run that off the secondary and pull up the primary. Like I said, this is an EPI, and they did have it running the proper direction, I believe, with facing forward on this guy. So now, next what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take my impact. I don't have the proper clutch holder tool for the primary on this thing. So what I'll do, I'll just take my impact, knock this bolt out. Hopefully it comes out easily. We'll take that out. And then what we can do, we can leave this on here and we can check. I mean, that primary clutch feels like it's working, but we want to check the trail blocks inside of this primary on the CV Tech clutch here. It's slipping really, really bad. We can see that the secondary spins no problem, nice and freely, but I'm a little concerned about these rollers here. I know somebody does make aftermarket ones to replace that with. And I'm not sure who's been in here. That's fresh. That had to be the other shop I just got this from. But we'll go ahead and pop this guy off here. I'll grab an impact, and then I'm gonna go ahead, I'll hold pressure down here. I'll take this nut off, and we should be able to access the spring stopper, the trail blocks, the sliders, and all that. So this is a 19 millimeter. Let's see if we can get my electric. If not, we'll get the air out. All right, so that thing came right off, no problem. All right, so now we're gonna grab the other socket, put it on there. And like I said, remember, this is under spring pressure. So make sure that you keep pressure on this and be very, very careful. It can be pretty heavy load. I think that's a 27 on that? It's been a while. Nope, it's a 30 or a 32. Okay, well, okay, that explains a lot. Look at that. I didn't even touch that, and it's loose. That should not be like that at all. That should have popped. That should have popped right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on. Hold that in place. I'll grab my clutch puller tool, put it in there. Again, you're not supposed to use an impact, but I don't have the clutch holder, so I'm gonna hit it with the impact, and hopefully the crank doesn't cause an issue with the crank. Let me find my tool here. I believe it's this guy. Maybe not that guy. All right, I think I found it here. Here we go. I believe this is the one. There we go. We'll screw that in. Ooh, I don't like that either. Let me grab some anti-seize. I'll throw a little more anti-seize on these threads. I have let a couple other shops use this. This one doesn't look that good. Let me grab my other one. It's just like it. Throw a little anti-seize on it. And then I believe it's a 19 millimeter also on the end of this. So throw this bad boy in here. Oh, golly, that is not good feeling by any means. So that's really scary. I think somebody's been in here and they may have really messed this thing up. So I'm gonna grab my 1/2-inch drive ratchet and see if we can't get that to thread in there a little bit better. That's a scary situation. Because that's not threading in at all. And this guy here, like I said before, should have just came apart. But I think what happened, I can see what happened. It's very, very hard to see, but if you look really closely, this guy lines up. All these line up. I gotta be careful in case it does pop off. Like a nut. Okay, it sits over the top of that. It is all center, been pressed on there. Somebody didn't put the primary clutch together right on this. Again, I know it's been worked at another shop or two, and I haven't worked for this people at the dealership that used to be open for over 2.5 years. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on trying to get that off. I might just kind of tap it with a hammer and let it blow apart and see what we can find on the inside. So just hang on, guys. This is gonna be interesting. As long as I don't break my fingers of what we find. So let's grab a dead blow hammer and see what we find. I'm gonna bring my other mallet along too. So I'll grab my safety glasses in case things go flying, because there are springs, there's weights, there's plastic trail blocks and all types of stuff inside there. This type of stuff happens when individuals have no idea what they're doing on these things. Golly, that's scary. I've never seen one like that. Even with that nut on there, I'm still scared to kind of mess with this thing. Shoot. I don't know. We're just gonna tap on it because they got it all locked in place and screwed up, so. Whoa. Come back, GoPro. There it goes. There, see it pop. You see that pop off? So now there's going to be spring pressure behind that. And there we go. So there we go. Okay. Got it. So there's a spring. Should be a stock spring. It's a 0951-1016. I think it's a 6. Yeah, 6. I believe it's a stock spring. Here's your spring spacer and stopper. One-way bearing still feels good on this. The sheave, a little bit of wear right there at the beginning. But my biggest concern is the nut and the trail blocks inside of this thing. I don't know if you guys, I'm gonna point you down here. So let's take a look at this. Try to get this guy to come out. Sliders, take those out. They actually look pretty good. And the trail blocks look really good in there also. But let's see if this thing goes on there and goes on properly, because it's supposed to, like I said, this is made like a nut. It fits on this straight. So if that doesn't go on, I mean, it's pretty messed up. So I'm gonna put it on backwards just so I got a better look at what's going on here. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I could see it's supposed to go like this. There we go. There's that. They may have had it on there. It looks like they had it on there just a little cockeyed. If you look, you can see some marks here. Might be kind of hard to see. The GoPro may not focus very good, but you can see the marks down there. So I'm actually going to go ahead and, since this wasn't on right and not letting the, what we call the trail blocks, which these are called trail blocks here. These guys get hot, they melt. You can see a little bit of issue on that one already. Just kind of getting hot. Basically, they set in here and they slide up and down like this. And by changing the weights, you can change the pressure on the belt. Changing the springs, you can change the starting and ending points of how fast these things open and close. Same thing with the helixes on the secondary, and the spring rate on the secondary can make these things stay in a lower gear longer if you have a heavier spring starting rate and ending rate, which will keep this thing in a lower gear range. Again, you put the weights on there, causes more pressure on the belt. It will lower your RPMs, but it will also cause more belt heat. So you got to be careful there. I've replaced these a million times by melting. You can see, like I said, you can see some of these are coming apart a little bit. I'm going to go through each one of these right now. Just mount you guys here. We're just going to keep this thing rolling. I don't care. And just check each one of these. And I might make a phone call and order a set of trail blocks for this guy. We'll see how they all look here real quick. I mean, you can see they've been melting, being hot, not being on there right. But somebody's been in that clutch before and kind of messed that up. I'll have to call and I get a price on these. I can't remember what they're not very expensive. But like I said, you see how they're melting, and I'm breaking off all that plastic that has melted like this. That's not good. And these weights just slide right out. So you can get heavier ones from CV Tech. You can call the guys in Canada, or find Terry. I forget what Terry's last name is. Northwest Suspension sells clutch kits for these. So I think what I'm going to do before I go ahead and order this, I'm going to see if this cures my problem with the primary clutch not engaging. This thing would just, you could just tell it was slipping. It was staying at a high RPM, but the unit was barely moving. So I'm going to go ahead, go back, reinstall this, and we'll back it out of my shop and ride around my yard and see if we got that problem fixed. If so, then we'll just order up some trail blocks, take it back. We're not going to put the cover back on it. We're just going to see if it's going to actually operate properly. So I'm going to put this all back together and then put the belt on and see if the thing operates properly. All right, so now I got this thing back together just enough to take it out for a test drive. Just got the seat in, the crossbar. I have the CVT cover still off, so I can make sure it's all working. It's very dangerous to do this. We got to be careful that the fuel line doesn't hit the secondary and it's pulled up tight above the primary down here. So I'll kind of hold on to that and kind of keep it pulled back so we're not running into issues there. So let's fire this thing up. Throw the shifter back on it real quick. Get that in place here. I think we're gonna go off one more. That feels like full engagement. There we go. Put it in park. Key on. Turn the lights off. I know the battery was low in this thing. That's nice. Come on, baby, just fire up. You fired up a second ago. All right, so let's throw a jumper on it and we'll get her fired up. All right, so we got her fired up. Let's get this thing off the screen. Let's go to my gauges, make sure we're charging okay. Charging is good there. Kind of low on gas, but all that stuff. So let's throw this thing in reverse. We're gonna put out a little bit. We're just gonna pull out here into my yard, make sure the e-brake's all the way off. So we'll throw it back into, well, there might be an issue with the primary secondary here because it's really hard to shift. I cannot get it to shift into, so there might be a little too much pressure on that secondary. It's jumping, but it's not moving the belt. If you look down there, you can see the secondary putting a little pressure on that. See, that should be parked. That's reverse. Let me shut it off here. Yep, we may have an issue with the primary clutch putting too much pressure on the secondary, causing this thing to have hard shifting issues. Let's see if it starts back up. Nope. So I can already tell, I can just feel it. The primary clutch is putting pressure on the secondary clutch, causing the hard shifting issue. It's by turning that secondary clutch like that, pulling on it, it's putting tension on the transmission, which doesn't let you shift easy. See how easily it shifts when the vehicle's off? Well, the problem becomes you can't shift it that easy when the vehicle is running. So we're gonna have to go back in here and we'll have to fire it back up, pull it back into the shop and see what we can do about that primary clutch putting that tension on the secondary clutch. All right, guys, so I got back from a test drive on that again, and the primary clutch, the trail blocks in there are a little bit melted, so I went through and I cleaned all those up really good before I go in and order some new stuff to make sure they're engaging right. So now I got it to pretty much almost sit still in neutral. I can actually shift through the gears on it now, but it still doesn't want to accelerate past like 23 miles an hour. It'll flat out accelerate and you can watch the clutches operate properly. When you're neutral or parked, not a big deal. But going down the road, looking at that while I'm driving, it seems like the primary clutch just doesn't want to, even though I got like 6,000 RPMs going, it doesn't want to squeeze past like maybe halfway, if that. So it's not like, I don't know if the belt's slipping. It is an EPI belt, so I'm going to ask a couple people if they have any issues with the EPI belt. I've run into issues with the Moose belt being too soft and just like spinning like crazy in the clutches. And then, so it might be the belt that's in there. I'm not sure because, like I said, it actuates just fine. I don't smell any burning rubber. So there's gonna be a few things that I gotta go over to figure that out. So I'm also gonna go check the ECU for any codes or anything like that. So I'll show you guys my scanner I got from Massimo, which works on these, the newer ones. The older ones are a little bit different pinning, so you have to move one pin, I think it's for the power possibly, to make the newer style OBD2 adapter work for that. And all that. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what's in that ECU real quick. All right, so I've shown this in a few different videos. I got this from Massimo a couple years back. Here's a part number 76019 EFI Diagnostic tool, made in China. It was like 300 bucks. This is what it looks like. This is what they got for, works on all your Haisung, Linhai type stuff like this. You had to call Massimo to get it. I got lucky and found it. But anyways, we already got this up. Here's your OBD2 connector for that right there, the 9-pin. It actually runs to the harness for the ECU. That's the rectifier right next to that. That's GPS. That's your computer for your power steering, wireless winch controls, winker relay, starter solenoid, all your other relays and fuses, so on and so forth. There are a few relays hiding somewhere. And then you also have this lovely turd bucket here. This is either, I think this might be the reverse speed controller for this model. There's a couple different styles, and they also have the 4-wheel drive actuator. I'm not sure if that's the right one or not, so I'm looking for the reverse speed controller, but that may be the one for this model here. There's a few different ones. But anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this guy. Let me throw you guys on the stand real quick for this. I'm gonna turn the key on. We'll grab our scanner. This is a little connector that works with this particular scanner. This is for Delphi systems, and you can do standard OBD2 also. I use it on cars and trucks and stuff too. And then you guys can see what's going on there. Plugs right in like this. So let's go ahead and pop this off. Plug into there real quick. All right, so see we got the OBD2 stuff, unit diagnostics, tool setup, information reviews, DTC dictionary, all that. So we're gonna enter, go to Delphi. Oh, if I hit the right button. Entering system, so we can read codes. So right now we have three. We have a coolant, oil temperature sensor, high voltage are open, which I may have that unplugged. Next one is a injector 2 malfunction, which could have been unplugged also. And then you have the mill circuit, which is like basically your trouble stuff. But no matter how many times I clear this stuff, that pretty much just pops right back up. So we're gonna exit back out of that. We're gonna go ahead and erase codes. Erase trouble codes. Are you sure? Yes. Ignition's on, motor's not running. Erase done, press any key to continue. Go back, read codes again. ECU has no faults. Other things we can do on here, we can data stream what we have going on from engine speed, throttle position, so on and so forth. There's quite a few different pages to this. Battery voltage 11.72 right now. Temperature, I can check steps on the IEC motor, target air fuel ratio, all that good stuff. So we can see what's going on with that. Fuel pump, fuel pulse. You can check, there's your step motor at 165, RPM 0. And I also have a sheet I had gotten from, I think it was Cub Cadet, for their UTVs that you can check different things and parameters that should be in at different RPM levels. I had to find it again. I'm not even sure if I still have it. Actually, I shouldn't say I have it. I had it at one time. But you guys can see all the stuff there, what's going on. So we checked all the codes. We're gonna fire this thing up just to let it idle, and we'll check a few things here. So let's go ahead and fire this up real quick. So right now you can see engine speed RPMs bouncing around there. Throttle position 0 to 0.13. Map pressures, exact map. Gives you coolant temperature in Celsius, air intake temperature sensor, battery voltage is charging a little bit at idle. Let's see, what else we got? Map multiplier, command AFR 13.2, target AFR 13.3. Some of these things I honestly don't know, like the CLC. I had to Google a lot of this stuff to figure out what the abbreviations were. You guys can do that too if you want. Fuel pump 99%. Fuel pulse width is at about 4 milliseconds. Fuel pulse width 2 doesn't show anything there. Steps are at 118, which is fine. Desired idle 1250, but we're running about 100 to 200 over depending on what's going on. Current mile code 650, that's going to be the mill for the trouble codes. I always get it on these Zeus's for some reason. And then let's see, vehicle speed, blah blah blah, spark dwell, map, O2 voltage 1, O2 voltage 2, IEC voltage, comp TPS. Previous runtime we've been running, previous runtime is 991 seconds. So give this thing a check out, man. Like I said, I use this on the Massimos and the Odes, Cub Cadets, Coleman's, any of that stuff that has that 9-pin plug. It works really well for that. So let's go ahead and see what we got for codes again. I'm sure it's gonna be that 651. Oh, injector 2 malfunction. And that one. So let's go on. I'm gonna go ahead and check to see what's going on with injector number 2. check to make sure that you know, it's all plugged in and that it's firing off. So we'll pop that out, turn the key over, and watch it, see if it fires. All right, let's take a look here. So it says there's injector number 1. Like I said, we already have this apart because we're still checking out that clutch because they had just been in there. We're talking about not accelerating, and they changed the belt at another shop. So I always, like you guys saw, I check all that stuff. Everything I think is good there. So looky here, right there. That injector wires are destroyed. Here, let's see if I can't get it off. So didn't even know, I should have checked codes right off the bat, but they said it started and ran, so I didn't even think anything about that. And believe it or not, look at that, both of them are gone. I have to see if I can't pull that apart and fix it. But let's see, watch this. Let's see, turn this on. Tell me if it sounds like it's running bad. It's a little rough sounding, right? It's a little rough. So that might have been the whole problem, is that we're not running on both cylinders. So that clutch, after fixing those trail blocks and actually getting it to activate and release properly now, so it looks like an injector problem. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and peel this back a little bit and see if I can't get in here to fix the Sumitomo connectors on here. I don't know if I have one in stock. I'll have to check, but I'm gonna peel all this back. I'm gonna do that off camera because it's gonna be hard to hold this thing here and do that. I don't know if it just got yanked on or if a mouse bit into that or what, but that's why it's got a injector number 2 fault. So let's see if that cures our problem with the acceleration, which I almost guarantee it will. All right, so I got both of those, if you can see it, both of those replaced. I need to tape that up yet, but I want to make sure that this thing fires up and runs right. I just erased the codes. Let's turn the key on and see if we can hear different how it runs instead of a 1 cylinder. Turn the slide off here. See if we get it run on 2. Oh yeah, it's a lot smoother. So let's go check the ECU for codes real quick. All right, so we gotta escape out of this thing. All right, here, enter, read codes. 1 code for the nil circuit malfunction, which doesn't ever go away. Every time you turn the key on, it comes back. So now we're gonna take this thing for a test drive and see if this thing actually accelerates past 25 mile an hour. It's probably just that one bad injector, or I shouldn't say bad injector, but looked like a mouse or somebody broke that wire. So hopefully that cures the runnability problem, and hopefully that cures that 25 mile an hour deal. Because I always had a little bit of a hiccup, but it didn't seem like I was running on 1 cylinder, was a weird part. So hopefully we'll see if that fixes it real quick. All right, it's gonna be a little loud in here. Let's go ahead and get to our gauges so we can check everything. Fuel's low. The secondary clutch is barely turning. It should be setting still completely, but sometimes on these Odes are hard. Primary clutch there, this wire, everything's out of the way. There's neutral, or reverse I should say. Just gonna pull out of the shop and head through my front yard and out to my road. Actually, I got a light hanging in here. Let me get this out of the way first. Sorry for all the craziness. Throw that in the back on the floor. All right, let's shift this thing up into high. Hi, baby. All right. Yeah, she's definitely running on both cylinders now. She picks up and goes. It's loud. I apologize for that. I'm gonna shoot down my county road. That is loud. Oh my God, it's so loud. I can't hear myself think. Go ahead and mute it. This thing is so loud, guys. I'm just gonna mute it while we're driving so we don't go deaf. So I'll mute my mic, but everything seems like it's working fine now. So back we go. Definitely loud, that's for sure. Gonna run through my garden. Sounds like she's just falling out of high gear there. All right, boom. There we go. This thing is, okay, I wasn't sure if the mic was on, but this thing is so loud. Oh my gosh, I gotta put all the housing back on. It's got an acoustic heat barrier I glued inside there years ago when this thing was first sold to them. And now I put the clutch cover back on. Man, that thing was deaf. That was loud. So bam. So it was partially the clutch, but 99.9% of it was definitely that second injector not firing off. It definitely didn't sound like it was loping on one cylinder. I was kind of impressed with that. Usually they sound really, really weird running on one cylinder, but the thing actually sounded pretty good on two. It had a little bit of a hiccup, but boy, I tell you what, we got that second injector working to hit that gas. This thing picks up and moves now. I mean, these Odes and Massimos and stuff, they're okay machines once you fix everything that goes wrong with them and keeps going wrong with them. So again, guys, I'll make a video on this one, another one about the things that we have issues with on here, things that go out, things you can do to cure those problems, which is not much besides keep replacing stuff. And I know some things are interchangeable, I think, with the Maverick, Can-Am Maverick. Don't quote me on that. Some people say it is. I have never tried. I just use the, I guess you want to call it OEM stuff. But again, so we got that injector fixed. We got the trail blocks fixed in the clutch and made sure that belt was working right and everything. So I'm going to throw this thing back together and give the customers a call and let them know that their Odes is fixed. Again, like I said, this is the second owner of this one now, and I believe I put a transmission in this back in the day, according to what I was told. And of course, I know I did belts and all that good stuff, so they'll be happy that it's fixed, and they'll be able to use it on farm since they just bought it and took it to another shop and replaced that belt, and I couldn't figure out what else was wrong with it, so I found out the injector was screwed up, so we got that fixed for them, and now they'll be happy to get it back, and I'm just rambling on. So again, guys, you got questions about motorcycles, ATVs, or UTVs, hit me up at limitlesspowersports78@gmail. Find me right here on YouTube at Limitless Powersports Service and Repair. Facebook, Limitless Powersports Service and Repair. And again, guys, if you haven't liked, subscribed, or turned on post notifications, leave some comments down below. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so we might be able to get monetized. Ooh, let's hope so. And I'll try to get on top of putting more content out, guys. It's really tough. Race season's getting ready to start back up, so I'll be traveling again with Warhorse HSBK New York Ducati here in 2023. But again, guys, thank you for tuning in, and thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you guys on the next upload.